Hi everyone! Today I'm going to make a card doing some watercolouring with distress oxides. Now I've got the bundled sage, wilted violet and squeezed lemonade. So out of my tub of bits that I keep from cards that are left over, I've pulled out a white vellum floral and some bundled sage berry leaves, so we won't need to cut them because I've already done those. Always worth keeping yourself a little tub of bits that are left over from any cards. You never know when you're going to use them. So we've got those. I'm going to be stamping with the Wild Meadow stamp set. I have pulled out the Sentiment Edge collection, and this is the birthday wishes, but you don't need to have this die to be able to do the technique that I'm going to do. Pulled out a sentiment stamp, the Elegant Script Essential Sentiments, an oval die set and an embossing folder. This embossing folder is the Classic Flourish, and all these products are by Sentimentally Yours. So I'm going to make a 6x6 card, and we're going to have an open aperture in the middle. Cardstock measures 12 inches by 6 inches. I've scored that down the middle to create our card base. And my matte layer, which I'm going to emboss and ink up, is 5 3/4 by 5 3/4, and I can just see that I've got the tiniest, there we go, just the tiniest, look, so fussy I am on the edge there. So that's going to be our topper. I've got a few extra pieces of scrap white cardstock, so as long as it's the same cardstock, use your scraps rather than keeping on digging into full sheets. So the first thing I'm going to do is take out the oval die. Now any oval dies will work for this, whatever you've got in your stash. And I'm going to decide which size. I think actually it's quite a nice size. I think the next size up. So if I take that biggest one away a minute, I think this is the sizes I'm going to go with. So the size for my aperture is 3 1/4 inches by 4 3/4 inches, and you will need the next size up, 3 3/4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. So whichever size card you're going to make, choose 2 oval dies. And what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to open my card up, and the smallest of the two I'm going to place over the front of my card. So just get this lined up, and I would do this by eye and try and get the same amount of border, top, bottom and on the edges. You can measure this if you want to be totally exact. I'm just going to rub this double-sided tape off on my jumper. Just don't want to tear this cardstock. Just going to lay that down, and I'm going to quickly run this through my embosser. Now this card is going to be all about die cutting and running things through. Okay, so if we remove that one, gently take that off the back of our card, and that's our card base done. Now I needed to do this job first because I'm going to be using this slot in between when we do this card. Pop those to one side. The next thing I need to do is take my 5x7 piece, and I'm going to line this up on the inside, the same amount of border, top, bottom around the edges and try and get that as completely lined up as possible. I'm taking a pencil and I'm just going to very lightly draw around that oval shape. So now I know when I cut this, that's exactly where I need the die to be. So you can't see any of the pencil line. You need to come down slightly there. And I am going to just pop a tiny piece of low tack tape over the top there, and then this one I'm going to quickly run through. Gently remove that. There's another oval. Okay, so if I bring this card blank back in and pop this over the front like so, I've got the same amount of border going all the way around, which is perfect. And with the stylistic Wild Meadow stamp, again, any floral stamps that you want to do this with, you don't have to use the same products that I'm using. Just about giving you the ideas. I'm going to take in my stamping block, just pop that one down, and the first colour I'm going to stamp this up with, I'm going to go direct. You can, if you want to, use your daubers. I would go in with my green just all the way along the bottom, and a couple of different ways. I would come up a few of those stems. I'm not worrying about going over the tops of florals. Because we're going to go in with some separate colour in a minute. Then I would take the yellow, which is the next lightest colour, and I would just follow through some different areas, not really worrying too much. And then with the wilted violet, I would do the tops of these florals. Again, not worrying too much about where I get this ink. Could do a tiny bit there and maybe a tiny bit there. And that's all there is to it. Move that one out of the way. About 4 spritz of water. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to turn this one around. Commit to there. And then when I take this one off, I'm just going to give this stamp a good clean up. And pop that one straight back on the carrier sheet. And now I need to just pop that to one side to dry. By taking the first matte layer, I now want to emboss this one. So with the classic Flourish embossing folder, yeah, that one nicely lined up. Basically anywhere on that embossing folder, and I'm just going to quickly run that one through. Okay, so there's our embossed piece. Pop that over there out the way. And with this piece, I'm just going to go over with the same Distress ink colours. I just take in another piece of blue, just get that lined up just there, and I'm just going to very, very gently just kiss this in a few areas. You will inevitably get tiny bits where you don't want them, but just very, very gently, like so. I think we need just a tiny bit there. So that's the green. And then going to go in with the yellow because that's the next lightest colour, and I'm just going to do exactly the same with the yellow. Just pick out a few areas where I think I'd like a bit of yellow to be. And this works really well, this technique, when you've got 3D embossing folders. So there's some yellow. And the very last colour, the wilted violet. So we're just going to gently pick out a few areas. I am going to be spraying this, so I'm not overly worried about tiny areas. This corner I'm going to have a floral, so quite happy with that. The secret with this is keeping your pad completely straight. If you go in on an angle, then you are going to pick up areas that you don't want to pick up. So that's all I'm going to do with that one. And again, with this one, I'm just going to, that was about 6 and a bit, and I'm just going to pop that one to one side to dry. And while those two are drying, we can now do some other jobs. So on the outside and the inside of this, I'm going to need a border. And the way we do that is you take the die, as I said, the same size die that you used to cut out that aperture, and the next size up. And this is why we needed our scraps of cardstock. So again, with my plates, unfortunately we can only do this one at a time. Just going to lay down the first one and the second one, get the same amount of border all the way around. We will need to secure that down, so I'm going to take some of the sticky off on my jumper, get that nicely lined up and secure that one. So I'll just pop this one through. Oh, we might as well leave those taped together because we're going to need to do this again, and this is what you end up with. Another oval for another project, and our first border to go around the front. I just need to pass this through again, and there's our second border. So we can pop these dies back. Use the squiggly one with lots of love, and then inside we could most probably have something like on your special day or something like that. So get this stamp nicely lined up on my glass mat. I'm going to take in the appropriate stamping block, which isn't that one, and pick that up. And I'm going to do this in the white. So I've got this piece of scrap, and I'm going to ink this up in the VersaFine Onyx Black. Now, because I want to try and follow this around, I am going to stamp it in the middle and just give that a stamp down. Lovely. Give that stamp a nice clean off and pop that one straight back. And if I take in my tiny scissors, just get rid of this a minute. While we're doing all this, we're allowing our inks to dry. I'm just going to keep checking where I want this to go. Roughly about there. So if I do a tiny pencil mark there and one there, I know I need this to be this long. And I'm going to try and follow this around. So and I do need this to come. We can cut this off afterward if it's too long. Not too bad. Don't like that little bit there. That's better. So that's my waist. Oh, I think that's going to be lovely. So we've done that job. We've got those two. I'm just going to take this. This feels quite dry now. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to pop this back into the opening. Remove the top, and I know now that this is where I want this to go. So again, we're going to have to just put a couple of pencil marks, top, bottom and on the sides, and I'm going to glue this down. So a nice bit of glue on the back of there. And if I get this lined up exactly as pencil marks are, when I bring this across, it sits in that space quite nicely. I do now need to get rid of those tiny pencil marks. Like so, and then this one's still a tiny bit damp, so I'm just gonna dry that one off on number 1. I think that's dry enough to work with now. This one is going to sit over the top, and you need to make sure you get this the right way around. But before I do that, I'm going to glue down my sentiment. So a tiny bit of glue on the edges. And you can decide where you want this to go. I want mine about there. Just make sure there's no glue seeping through. So that one's going to go about there. And now we can glue down our first matte layer, or our matte layer, because we were not going to be putting any more matte layers on this. It's a nice bit of glue all around the outside. This has been embossed, so you need to make sure you get a nice amount of glue on there. So we don't want that glue seeping through onto the oxide inks. I'm going to get that one lined up. So we can open this up now and just pop that down a little bit. We've got a little bit more of a border at the top than we have at the bottom, but I'm quite happy with that. Bring that one across and give that a really nice press down from the back. So this is where we are at the moment. Now we can glue down our borders. So again, tiny bit of glue, and I'd be inclined to spread this out a little bit because we're going on top of Distress Oxides. If it squidges out, it will ruin our design. This one, start at either the top or the bottom. Get that one nicely pressed down. Give that a rub from the back. And then this back one is going to go over the back here. So again, tiny bit of glue all around the edge. Again, I'm just going to give that a little, and get this one nicely lined up. There we go. So that's where we are at the moment. Now, as I said, I pulled out this pretty vellum floral from my little box of bits. Just going to pop that down with some glue, and I'm going to have this one just there, and I'm going to hold that one down for a couple of seconds, and then with the berries, I've got 4 I pulled out. I can get these exactly where I want these to go. Actually, I think that one is a left and that one's a right, so I think I'll have that one down here. And that one up there. could potentially have another one there, but all I want to put on there, just give them a little lift up and glue up the backs of those stems. So this one I'm going to pop in just there. I get my pokey tool. And give that one a nice press down. Make sure that it's not longer than the card. Tiny bit of glue on the back of that one. Again, making sure that it doesn't go over the bottom of the card. Give that one a nice squeeze down. And then this one, just going to give that a little bend up. It's going to go just there. I always find vellum takes a long time to stick. I don't know why. Just give that one a press down. I am going to pop pearl in the center of that floral. I seem to be using these, what are these called? Raspberry Kool-Aid. I'm going to pop a tiny bit of glue just in that. Actually, if we pop quite a bit of glue in there, so far too much, more than you need, and we sit that one within. I've got this tiny pot of glitter. Haven't got a clue where it came from or even what colour it is. I'm going to go for it. Oh, how pretty. Very pretty. Oh, that was silly. There we go. Don't even know if there's a name on this. If you're anything like me, you've got stash that you don't know you've got. So we've got a tiny bit of glitter on this card. And we could actually, so if we go one there, one in this space, try not to get glue on your distress ink, one in that space, that's 3. Let's see what they look like. It's got some glue seepage there, some glue seepage there. Some more up there. So I'm just going to go with these at the moment. I'm going to take in a piece of copy paper. It's like a mushroom colour. It's ever so pretty. There's that one, and that one. That is gorgeous. Should I put another one, or should I just, no, I'm just going to stick with the 3. Pop that straight back. Look how pretty those pearls look with that bit of mushroomy glitter around them, and especially in the center of that floral. So there we go. I'll clean up my mess a minute and see if there's anything else I want to do to this. Okay, so if we open this up, I think what we're going to need to do is, for this card, I think we're going to need to write our sentiment on the back. So I'm going to take another oval and I'm going to pop this on the back. And on the inside of this, we've got, with lots of love, I'm just going to have for you. So with lots of love for you, pop that one down. Pick that one up. I'm going to use the VersaFine Onyx Black. Get this one nice and straight. And I'm going to pop the for you at the top so that there's plenty of room to just write a little message. There we go. Give that one a good clean up. That one straight back, and if I take back in my card, I'm going to glue this just on the back, kind of that just about there. There we go. How beautiful is that card? Something a little different. That would actually make a stunning Easter card, and then rather than having the sentiment on the inside, we've got it on the back. So there we go, that's today's card. I hope you enjoyed my little video. I really like that. I think that's absolutely gorgeous. I hope you've learned something, and until the next time, bye for now.